Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I as always am Grestar and this is another reaction to a death battle, Sauron vs Lich King. As always, the link to the original is in the description below. Yes, I am releasing this one early like I did with my Michael Myers vs Jason Voorhees reaction because I want to take advantage of the algorithm and people's interest since the death battle just came out. I am, yes, hoping to get more views. Look, Christmas is coming up, I gotta pay for presents somehow. So we have Sauron from Lord of the Rings and Lich King from World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft was never a game that I myself really got to play. I mean, I've had opportunities, I suppose, since I actually did start making money as an adult. But like, I never played it growing up because it was too expensive. Like, not only, to my knowledge, did you need the disc, but you also needed to pay like a $15 a month subscription fee. And that was too much for me. Even RuneScape's membership of $5 was too much for me for the most part, but that was the first MMORPG like I really started playing was RuneScape because of that. Like, it had its free version, and then you could pay to be a member to like really open up the world, that kind of thing. But just as such, I've never played World of Warcraft. I really don't know what, you know, any of like the power levels are like or anything like that. I imagine it's fairly typical MMO stuff where it's like you start with fighting chickens and like giant rats and giant spiders, and then you move on up to like, you know, dragons and demons and gods. But like how powerful those things are, I don't know. So as far as the Lich King is concerned, I have no idea. I assume that he's like actually a character within the lore of the game, and that's why he's important enough to actually have a place in Death Battle, but I have no idea what he's capable of. Sauron, I also really don't know either. I have seen the Lord of the Rings movies, but not the extended editions, and probably not within the last decade, you know? I don't think I've seen any since I was in high school. And that is so long ago now, unfortunately for me. I thought that I had heard that Sauron had been like one of the races of the gods in Lord of the Rings or something along those lines. That could be completely wrong. I do know that he like is a great fighter, at least, you know, in relation to all that stuff. That he commands, you know, armies, and that he's very old and has a lot of experience. But I have no idea in relation to Lich King. People in the comments when this one was announced, I thought I'd seen a few different times people were saying like, if it's just Sauron versus Lich King, probably Sauron will win. If it's army versus army, probably Lich King will win. So if I were to trust that, I personally am assuming that this death battle is just going to be Sauron and Lich King. So again, if I'm trusting those comments, then Sauron seems to have the upper hand, which makes sense to me. But saying that is weird just because I know like nothing about Lich King. But it's just with what very little I feel I know or have heard about Sauron, you know, I'm impressed already, and I'm sure the death battle is going to impress me even more. So with that, let's get to watching. So here we go for another death battle, Sauron versus Lich King. Take it away.
Sauron, the Lord of the Rings.
The Lich King, Warcraft's Lord of the Scourge.
Evil has many shapes, but few can match the presence of these kings of blight and shadow.
Okay.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
I do feel like I've seen, hence the okay, I feel like I've seen that guy before. So if that's the Lich King, technically, might have seen his face at one point in time.
Within the timeless halls, at the dawn of creation, the supreme god Eru and his angelic Ainur created all of existence through a single harmonious song.
Never read the books.
One of these angels just had to be a rebel. Melkor ruined that harmony, giving the world its many, many imperfections, like Wiz. Then after messing up God's hit single and going rogue, Melkor took up a new name just to be even more metal. Morgoth.
Morgoth's power was impressive, daunting. Several Maiar, essentially lower-ranked angels, joined him in his frightening conquest of the world he had helped create.
And the greatest of these followers was one obsessed with destroying all life in the pursuit of bringing about complete order.
He used to be
that was cool eye
but
imagery.
under Morgoth's reign, he became the one and only Sauron.
So he's a lower angel
then. As the bigwig of Morgoth's forces, Sauron spent thousands of years bringing Middle Earth to
at
its
least
knees.
55,000.
He's almost more a force of
years
nature than anything else, able to create infernos, cause country-spanning earthquakes, and even absorb souls.
Wow.
And because he's a weird angel spirit man, he can morph his body around his own soul however he wants, or just shed it like clothing and fight as a ghost.
He can
Oh.
go far beyond that. He has appeared as something akin to both man and elf, attractive and devious. A werewolf, once thought to be the greatest wolf of all, and even a vampire.
Oh man,
Oh.
Tyler's gonna go nuts with that.
Many of his greatest accomplishments are not due to his powerful magics and weaponry, but his inhuman cunning. Sauron is nothing less than a master of manipulation.
He's like if Loki and Satan did a fusion dance. He loves to trick someone with illusions, shadow magic, or just by toying with their sad, predictable,
That's
pathetic
interesting.
human
I
emotions.
didn't know this.
Like when he convinced Saruman to join the evil side, who was basically a super wizard specifically meant to lead the charge against Sauron.
In some ways, Sauron is actually wiser than the master he served. In the most epic war to eclipse all other wars, humans, dwarves, elves, and more united to destroy Morgoth, casting what remained of Melkor into the void.
But Sauron saw it coming and bailed faster than me at a divorce hearing just to show back up centuries later in the fiery pits of Mordor.
There, the Dark
I
Lord
appreciated
had a
that
plan to
trill.
conquer everything. He fooled the elven smiths into forging 19 rings of power and planted them among the leaders of elven, man, and dwarven kind.
He fooled
all
them to do
controlled
that?
by another ring he made in secret.
The one ring to rule them all.
I don't
One
think I
ring
knew
to
that.
Bind them. One ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Oh God, that's so epic.
What a
Thinking of poetry
nerd.
now. Forged in the fires of Mount Doom, using part of Sauron's
It's just
own
fun to hear
soul,
Boomstick be the one
One
saying
Ring
that.
amplified his power and let him control the minds and actions of the other ring bearers.
The 9 kings of men were especially vulnerable and saw themselves reduced to twisted wraiths bent to Sauron's
So is he actually getting the
It wasn't
ring
any
then?
better for the less kingly humans. So much so that Sauron mind controlled most of Numenor. We're talking about an island nation that could have had as many as 18 million people. And
Wow.
Sauron had them all at his creepy,
All
pokey
of them?
fingertips.
This led to retaliation from Eru, who had hardly directly intervened ever before, even against Mordor.
But he was like, all right, this is a little too far.
Sank Numenor, while Sauron was still on it. But the Dark Lord spirit persevered, indestructible even against the wrath of God.
Sauron used the ring to build himself a new body. It may have cost
Oh.
a lot of power, but he took a biblical event to the face and went right back on to being evil.
And
Wow.
yet, putting so much power into one object did have drawbacks.
Which hit back hard when Isildur subtracted a digit from his hand.
The Warrior King did more than just cut off a finger. He took the ring and its power for himself. This act forced Sauron to retreat as a disembodied spirit, threatened by his own power in the hands of another. And should the One Ring be destroyed completely, Sauron's spirit could be rendered impotent beyond repair. It isn't all bad, though. The ring can turn you invisible, create visions of impending doom, and has one hell of a defense mechanism.
Yeah, who'd want to destroy it when it makes you want it? It has a will of its own, with promises whispered even the best of us can't refuse. The greatest
Even the
poultry
best of
dinner
us.
ever, Boomstick. Bourbon, pecan, parmesan, turducken. It's so precious.
All he needs is
What did you
food.
just do?
What? It sounded delicious. Well, ring or no ring, Sauron's
Oh,
a
Boomstick,
beast.
we
He
love you.
swatted away armies of soldiers, interrupted Mount Doom through sheer willpower. He has total control over his own being and can modify his soul at will. So he can definitely resist someone like spooky ghost Celebrimbor trying to dominate his spirit.
And
Okay,
being among the
sure.
strongest Maiar, the peak of Sauron's power is beyond that of Osei, Lesser Maya.
Osei.
Which is specifically important because Osei single-handedly raised the island of Numenor.
Yeah, remember
Raised
that
it.
island that got Noah'd? That place. No wonder everyone wants his ring. Who could turn down that much power?
Not as Isildur. The hearts of men are easily corrupted, and he kept the ring rather than destroy it. But in the end, the ring destroyed him and waited for its master's return.
Sauron was rebuilding Mordor into a world-conquering force. And after a little bit of good old-fashioned torture, he found out
Yeah.
the ring was in the Shire. The chillest, coziest, dopest place imaginable. Ah, man, when I retire, I'm gonna go live in a hobbit hole and just get lit 24/7.
I can believe
So
that.
began the War of the Ring. Sauron's forces covered the land, seeking both the ring and the downfall of man. always shadowed by the symbol of his ever-present influence, the Eye of Sauron.
It was a slaughter fest. Middle-earth stood no chance. Everybody basically accepted death by orcs as inevitable. It was hopeless. The kingdoms of men would finally fall for good.
Save for the Dark Lord's truest weakness. Sauron's cunning and stratagems were impressive, sure, but ultimately, he never truly understood the people of Middle-earth. In his mind, absolute power was factually irresistible. He never imagined a mere mortal could ever or would ever seek to actually destroy the One Ring.
His
Against
hubris.
all odds and a whole lot of walking, Sauron was defeated. Not by the sparkly new king or the armies of Middle-earth, but by the most unlikely creature imaginable, Elijah Wood.
Yet, even as a formless shadow, Sauron's legacy remains one of domination, treachery, and most of all, fear. Fitting for the being that represents, and I quote, as near an approach to the wholly evil will as is possible.
Wow. Quoted from where? From whom?
On the distant planet of Draenor, destruction was imminent. The orc shaman Ner'zhul
Wait, there's
prepared a
Draenor?
spell with his followers
But
to
that's the
tear
thing in
planet
RuneScape.
asunder,
That's a
all
village.
to escape the fury of the demon lord Kil'jaeden.
But when Ner'zhul waltzed through the portal, Kil'jaeden was right there waiting
Why is his
for
name
him.
a command?
Ner'zhul was forced to serve Kil'jaeden's will to ravage another world, Azeroth. Thus, he was transformed into the first Lich King.
This Lord of the Dead was sent to the continent of Northrend, but Kil'jaeden had one more twist for poor Zul. His body was gone, leaving just his spirit, which was bound to a set of armor sealed within a prison of magical ice. And this
Okay.
guy can't catch a break. Arthur looks sick, though. He's gonna possess me if I put that on, huh?
Hey, you want?
From his
Yes.
frozen prison, the Lich King would begin his conquest, conjuring an unstoppable plague of undeath. Soon, this would threaten the lives of the kingdom of Lordaeron.
That did
Okay,
seem like
so
a threatening
that was
army.
lot, but here's where our main
For
guy
sure.
finally shows up. Lordaeron's crown prince and holy knight, Arthas Menethil. Yeah, his name does kind of sound like something your doctor would give you for fungus, but hey, no,
Yeah.
Arthas was a badass. At 19 years old, he was considered one of the best swordsmen in the world and had mastered nearly every weapon he could.
Even with
gonna
such a
say
skilled
swordsman,
warrior as its
but
prince, Lordaeron
giant
was
hammer.
already severely pressured by a war with an orcish horde. So a zombie
Interned at
plague
Blizzard in
was the last
2017.
thing Arthas
Wow,
needed.
poor guy.
Compounding this even further, Ner'zhul managed to break free of Kil'jaeden's power and turned his attention toward creating a champion to lead his ever-growing scourge. Naturally, he chose Arthas.
Who was a stressed out mess, to the point where he tried to stop the plague by killing everyone in his own city. Holy shit.
Oh.
Yeah, he was totally losing it. So
Oh,
hearing
no.
a creepy voice in his head really didn't help.
Long story short, in his efforts to protect his realm, Arthas discovered a rune blade and took it for himself. This was the fearsome Frostmourne.
Surprise! It's the source of the Lich King's power.
Oh,
He
no.
was stealing souls and storing them within the blade. With this new ice-cold cleaver in hand, Arthas lost his soul and got a Death Knight makeover.
And so the former hero of light would lead the very scourge he previously fought.
And in time, Arthas would don the armor for himself, giving the Lich King a new, ultimate power. Walking!
Remember, everything
Pretty
Lich King
important.
had done up until this point had been from his prison within a literal block of ice.
Right.
And this new Sauronite armor. Wait, no, Saronite armor.
Okay.
Is the best. Like, what was it doing stuck in ice all this time when it's made of old god blood and self-repairs? Screw you, blacksmith! You're never taking my hard-earned gold! I'll never have to get naked and die again!
Yay!
Donning this dark helm, Ner'zhul and Arthas fused to become one, a being far more powerful than either had been before.
He could effortlessly cover cities in ice storms, murder hundreds with the power of shadow, and learn all of your secrets with the Eye of Acheris.
Azeroth's fate was sealed. Everyone was doomed.
See this guy? He's Illidan, a 15,000-year-old demon hunter with a bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Okay.
As a Death Knight, Arthas could take him down, even after fighting through a massive army to get to him. Against this new Lich King, Illidan never stood a chance.
This is important because Illidan had absorbed the power of Gul'dan, an orc warlock who, alongside his followers, raised the Broken Isles out of the sea, a massively powerful feat of magic.
The fact that Arthas, a mortal guy, beat him up is a big deal.
I don't know how that
Just
compares to the
imagine
other
Kick-Ass
islands
would
feat.
be in full control of the undying Lich King powers. Oh wait, we don't have to.
Ner'zhul may have pulled Arthas' strings up until this point, but he had made a drastic miscalculation. Within the mind of the Lich King, Arthas battled Ner'zhul for control and won. The power of Frostmourne, of the Scourge, of Undeath itself was now under the command of Arthas.
And by this point, he was just done. Like, with everything. We've all had one of those days, right?
Yes.
Where you see all of humanity is so pathetic they can only be saved by just killing them all, so you rip out your own heart. Yeah, relatable.
Determined to end all life, Arthas
Kind
led
of.
the Scourge across Azeroth, spreading the plague to every corner of the world. He slaughtered every contender in his path, including legendary champions like this hero of the Horde, Dranosh Sarfang.
Who the Lich King bitch slapped to death in one hit, then zombified to serve him instead.
Oh,
Man,
that's pretty
that didn't
rude.
go well.
The
No.
Lich King seemed unstoppable.
Only one thing could take him down. A 25-man raid team of the best nerds World of Warcraft servers had to offer. And that one guy who was just there because he was friends with somebody, but damn, he sucked.
Just being
With
carried,
these,
yeah.
Heroes triumphant, the Paladin Tyrion shattered Frostmourne with an equally legendary blade, ending the Lich King's vile reign.
But the Scourge doesn't work on Phantom Menace battle droid rules, so there must always be a Lich King to keep the relentless undead in check.
I
Yet
see.
no Lich King before or since ever matched the terror and malice Arthas brought to Azeroth.
Without a doubt, one of the most terrifying kings to ever conquer the world of Warcraft.
I see what you did there.
All right, the combatants are set.
Okay,
Throw the data through all
interesting.
possibilities.
It's time for a
undeath
undeath battle. Pause. Okay, so this one was this was tricky because I didn't feel like we got a lot of this was a very number light battle, I'll say. There were numbers, but it was very number light, I feel. Right now, I'm leaning towards Sauron winning. Few different reasons in particular that pop out to me. One of the things is that one of Lich King's big things at the end was like standing up against canonically the 25-man raid battle or whatever. Whereas Sauron was just like slapping away like an army, one group at a time. And so, maybe they are more powerful in World of Warcraft than just like the normal guys, but still, if you're like, I do think that Lich King is far above them and they're more powerful than the normal guys, but then it's still Lich King versus Sauron. So I can't look at that too heavily. As far as strength, like I want to know more about the island feat, right? That like they were both able to do. Like I have no idea the size of the islands that like Gul'dan was able to lift. So I just kind of have to assume that at best it was equal to the other feat, like Sauron's feat. But it wasn't just Sauron's feat. What it was like Osei's feat or something like that. And Osei, or again, however you pronounce it, I apologize, was less powerful than Sauron was. And so if I'm equating them, because I feel like I say it best because if that island could hold like the 18 million people or whatever it was, I have to assume that it was a pretty big honkin' island. And so that, I don't have comparisons, and so I have to make my own, and that is what I have to go with right now. But yeah, Sauron was presumably more powerful than the Maiar who did that. So I don't know how much more powerful, but like it's not a lowball necessarily, but we just know Sauron can do more. And I don't know if Lich King could do more than that. Because I mean, it wasn't even that like Lich King could do that. It was just like he did something that was like equivalent or beat him or whatever. I don't remember the specifics. But because it was Gul'dan and not Lich King himself. But I think the two biggest things that put me in Sauron's favor right now, or that I think go for him, just his years of experience with, again, like that 55,000 years of having, like done all of this and been in as powerful a position as he is and having like grown stronger and all that. That's just a lot of time to really refine what you're doing. And then he also is just incredibly cunning. He did underestimate people like mortals' desire for power, and that's ultimately like what did him in. But I think that he's proven that he's just incredibly cunning, able to like fool gods, and people like that. From what I was able to gather, he was also incredibly resilient in that he was basically able to survive a nuke of that island, right? That again, like, housed all of those people. And incredibly powerful in the way that he was able to control those 18 million people at once. Do I think that he could have that same kind of, like, complete control or influence over Lich King? I don't. But that still is a lot of power to be exerted. I also don't think that we're really going to be at risk of the ring being destroyed, because I think that has to be done within, like, the fires of Mount Doom, right? Like, isn't that kind of the whole thing that the ring is about? And I know in, like, the little box up top, it said that it had survived, like, a really big thing. I couldn't tell you how big a thing right now, but I'm not expecting Lich King to dish that out. Even if, like, the ring is separated from him, like when his fingers got cut off, he still wouldn't be dead. He would just be there, like, in the background plotting some more. So I don't think that Death Battle could do that to get rid of him. His soul can't be, like, taken by the sword, whatever, the frost, whatever sword, right? So I don't think that Lich King is going to be able to manipulate him in that way. Like, and similarly, Sauron can't manipulate Lich King because Lich King doesn't have a soul. But I wonder if Sauron could do anything with the souls that, like, are contained within the sword. Things like that. So it's just, from what I can tell, since the armies aren't really playing a big part in this, and it's mostly just down to them as people, it seems to me like Sauron is stronger and more resilient, has more experience, and is more cunning. Like, the strength is something that the strength resilience, that is what I am shakiest on right now, I think. Just because I don't know how all of the champions that Lich King fought compare to, you know, Sauron. And I think that that's kind of, like, I don't know how I'm supposed to take that, because one of the things they were going off of, and I'm not saying this was necessarily, like, the strongest feat they were giving Lich King, but they're like, has canonically defeated a raid of 25 champions. And it's like, those are player characters, so that could be any amount of strength. It has a cap, of course, but but that's so varied. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. So yeah, I'm not sure where to place that feat, or really his other ones, but I think Sauron's going to win this one, so I'm just gonna go with it before I talk myself out of it. So Sauron's going to win and play. And we'll see whether he does or not, how he does or not. Hopefully the conclusion will back up some of the points I made, at least. But we'll find out. Just in terms of immortality, Sauron seems more immortal to me.
In this cold north, you will find only death.
And there they go. He's getting some hugs. So nice. That was pretty mean. Puppy! Look at that. I actually forgot about, like, all the shape-shifting. I remembered teleportation, things like that, but forgot the werewolf, the vampire.
Find nothing. Your efforts are for naught.
Oh yeah, he could do that too. No!
You serve me now. I serve no one.
Giant eyeball, alright. What?
Nothing but lies.
It's a cool effect, but I'm not 100% sure what's going on.
There is no life in the void. Only death.
So is he dead? I think he's dead. Yeah, okay.
Hey-o! Well, if he wasn't all powerful before, look out for supercharged Sauron now.
Oh
Despite the
no.
Lich King's impressive power, Sauron's might was absolute.
But not before he got the duel of his life in a crazy close bout. First up, both Dark Lords could counter pretty much any mind or soul-screwing powers, making a lot of their usual tricks way less noteworthy in this match.
To be fair, the Lich King severely debilitated Sauron via his plague of undeath. Most physical bodies would not survive such a disease.
So Sauron just got rid of his body. Who needs it? Especially when you can rebuild one or just start fighting as a ghost. Both things Sauron could do.
After all, the plague is intended for organic mortal enemies and has never infected a spirit.
Another smaller
makes
point
sense.
for Sauron was his weakness. The Lich King was a clever bastard, but even with the Eye of Icarus, it would have been tough for him to decode and destroy the One Ring. Meanwhile, given enough power, Sauron would naturally end up destroying Frostmourne. He's kinda got a thing for breaking swords.
So let's compare their power.
Yes,
While their
please.
highest limits are certainly nebulous, interestingly enough, some of the most impressive feats from both worlds involve lifting islands.
Yeah.
As Sauron is a
Gathered
more
that.
powerful Maya than Osei, and the Lich King could reliably defeat someone with Gul'dan's magic, it is possible to gauge the difference in power by measuring the islands that were raised.
Please
Keep in
do.
mind, Gul'dan had a bunch of help, so we're only giving him his share. Turns out, Osei was doing twice the work.
By examining official maps to determine the volume of the islands, we found a difference between lifting 2 quadrillion tons of rock versus 4 quadrillion tons.
Gotcha.
Among further energy required to actually lift these through the ocean, of course. Both impressive, sure, but Sauron had the edge.
And for the final nail in the
Oh, and
coffin, the
he was
Lich
stronger
King
than
might have
that guy,
been super
too,
scary,
than
but he
Osei.
really wasn't around for all that long. At least not when compared to the experience Sauron has warring with the world for thousands of years.
The Lich King certainly posed a threat to Sauron, but the ruler of Mordor's awesome might, enduring spirit, and millennia of treachery proved him the superior Dark Lord.
Wow!
Is that it?
Oh wow.
What? Are you
I get
sour
it.
on the pun?
I get
was
it.
pretty Tolkien about it.
The winner is Sauron.
Claps for Sauron. Cool.
Hey, if you want more Death
Hi.
Metal ASAP, why not grab a membership? You'll get exclusive emotes, badges, live chat, live streams, and a bunch of behind-the-scenes
Yeah,
stuff.
you could.
Just click that join button. Thanks for watching.
Next time on Death Battle, we have My Hero Ac- Oh, it's Izuku! Yay, Deku! Oh, and then the most annoying protagonist in anime. I started watching, and then I had to stop. I started watching Black Clover, and I had to stop because his voice was so annoying to me. And I watched Naruto, for the record. So you can get an idea of like, but and I did start watching it again, and then I just didn't get very far. I don't remember why I stopped that time. It might have just been because sometimes I just stop watching things. Or maybe, I don't know, it just didn't hold my attention. Maybe his voice just got on my nerves again, but I did have to stop briefly because Asta was so annoying. Just like his vocal, and like nothing against the voice actor. Kudos to you. I just couldn't. But man, I hope Deku wins. I love Midoriya. Anyway, so let's talk about this death battle. So I was right, yay me. And you know what? I will give myself credit for talking about the reasons that they said in the conclusion that he did win. As far as his experience, the One Ring like not really being able to be broken, but he could do stuff to Lich King's sword and the island feat. So yes, I will take the credit. Thank you, me patting myself on the back of my neck because reaching my back is more cumbersome. I do want to get something out of the way. I don't love what they did with the island feat, because unless I missed something, which is very possible, and if I did, then I take this statement back, you know? But if I didn't miss anything, they said that, like, yeah, they lifted islands, and then left it at that, and then a big part of it was like, yeah, well, one island was much bigger, like twice as big. And that's and that's a huge part of why they determined, you know, Sauron to be the winner. So I feel like you should be a little bit more forthcoming with that kind of information when it's that big a thing. You don't have to, like, strictly say, oh, take 4 quadrillion whatever for this one and 2 quadrillion for this one. Like, you don't need to give us that in the analyses, but just, like, give us an idea of the actual size that we're dealing with. The only idea of the size I had to work with was the whole, like, 18 million people that were presumably living on that island on, you know, like, Sauron's side. And for Lich Kings, I don't remember getting any information like that for those islands. I just knew that they had, like, a bunch of different names, and so I was like, okay, well, technically, like, an individual, like, area could have been the same size as the island for, you know, in the Lord of the Rings bit. So I just didn't know. I just had to guess, basically, and I guessed correctly, but I very well could have gotten it completely wrong. So again, if I missed something and they did give a hint as far as, like, which was bigger than the other, that's fine. But if they didn't, I feel like that's a little bit cheap. So yeah, aside from that though, you know, like, I enjoyed the analyses. It was tricky in that, again, like, it was very number light and you just had to go with a lot of the feats. Glad I was able to figure out for myself that a lot of them did just kind of counter each other out. And so it came down to sort of like what was, like, first, strength and durability, like, who had the upper hand there, and then what else could they, you know, uniquely provide. And, you know, for Sauron, that was, like, his cunningness, I guess, and his years of experience. So, glad for that. For the fight itself, it was not my favorite fight. I liked a lot of the visual effects that were used. The visual effects were very cool. But I felt like the fight itself, it seemed stiff to me in a lot of ways, which, in its defense, these are two people in very heavy armor fighting. I think one of my biggest things was there was this, like, one moment where Lich King just seems to be floating, and it just looked really awkward to me. I don't know if Lich King can float like that, but it just struck me as, like, that doesn't look aesthetically pleasing to me. So, you know, it's just a case of, like, if I'm trying to be perfectly honest about my reactions, there we go. I thought some of this fight seemed a little stiff, and, like, do I know how I would change it? No, of course not. But yeah, it wasn't exactly my speed, and I think that's ultimately what it comes down to, is just taste, because it's a similar thing, like, if I'm watching a kaiju movie, that combat is not my thing either. It's just big and awkward and slow, and other people absolutely love that, but it's not my thing, so I can acknowledge that. But just for the sake of, you know, it's a reaction, so there are my thoughts. The conclusion, glad they cleared things up. I wish they didn't have to clear up, again, the island feed as much as they did, because it was actually, like, a very simple thing on their part. It's just like, oh, it was twice as heavy. Cool, yeah, very simple. But I wish they had given a little bit more of that information during the analyses for those like me who like to actually take the information and try to predict the winner based upon that. I'm glad that they touched on the similarities that the two characters had in the conclusion, as far as, like, being able to see through or withstand, you know, like, different spells or illusions or things of that nature. And they did explain for me a little bit more of what was going on in the fight, because I definitely did get lost toward the end. Like, I didn't realize what had happened with, like, the undead, the plague, the undeath plague or whatever it was. I didn't understand what was happening with that green there, and then why he just suddenly became an eyeball. So I appreciated them clearing that up for me, and I know a lot of other people totally understood. I just didn't follow along. I don't think there's really much else I have to say about this fight. I liked it. It's not one of my favorites, but I did enjoy it. I don't think it stands up, in my opinion, to a lot of the other ones that we've had recently. Like, even just going back, you know, I'm releasing this Monday, so 2 days ago, I released, you know, Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna. I had more fun watching that one. But that, again, very well could have been because those characters were more of my interest than these two were. But, yeah. Let me know what you all thought about this death battle in the comments below, whether you liked it, whether you disliked it, what you thought about this or that, etc., so on and so forth. And next time, we will be watching... Okay, well, actually, I can't say... Like, I'm already lying because last time... Or I've already lied, because last time I said next time we'll be watching... one of the JoJos, Jonathan Joestar? Yeah, it's a JoJo versus Tanjiro from Demon Slayer specifically. And clearly that's not the case because we're watching this one instead. So next time I think we will be watching JoJo versus Tanjiro. And then we'll be watching another one after that. And then I think we'll be watching Deku versus Asta. No one, raise your hand. Let me know in the comments if you actually watched this far. With that, we're calling it here. So have a good one, everybody.